I can't remember what I said in the email, but maybe what keeps you here. I think I found that like on a random playlist, and
Nice.
it just like hooked me. So
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
that's what I normally do. I don't know if you have anything to drink with you that you might not have cracked. I do usually crack a beer for the start of the episode. If you want to join in on that.
Yeah,
Sure.
I was saving mine so that I could crack it with the
Yeah.
Hell
mic.
yeah! All right, so we'll do the crack, and then I'll do like the little intro, and then I'll bring you guys in.
Sweet. Sounds
All
good.
right. In three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I traveled virtually back down to Nashville, hanging out with a couple of dudes from Pale Lungs. How you guys doing?
Doing
Pretty
well.
good.
Dude, well, first of all, thank you for taking the time out of your Monday to sit down with me. You guys have some killer stuff that you just put out, and I'm so stoked to have you on to talk about it.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Before we get too far, like I mentioned, you guys are both from Pale Lungs. Pale Lungs, for people that aren't aware, is a like ambient alt rock band, like I mentioned, from Nashville, um, and super killer. Can you go ahead and like kind of go between the two of you and say who you are and what you do in Pale Lungs?
Sure.
My name's Matt. I sing and play guitar in Pale Lungs.
And I'm Julian. I play bass and sing in Pale Lungs.
He
All
also
right.
did the
And
record.
yeah.
And then we are obviously missing a few members. Can
Mhm.
you say who they are and what they do in Pale Lungs?
Yeah, so Marty plays keys and auxiliary stuff as well as sings.
Mhm.
Um, Hayden, who is I think on his way over, plays guitar, and then Aaron, who is flying in 2 days, plays drums.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Um, so like I used to say, it's been a little while since we haven't had like full bands on, but since they're not here, we pour one out for them. By pour one out, I usually just mean take a drink, don't waste it.
Yeah.
Cool if I pour this on your keyboard, Julian.
Hmm.
Yeah.
uh, and we'll talk about kind of. I know why that person's flying in, but we'll kind of talk about that here in a little bit because you have
Sure.
some big things going on this end of this weekend. But I kind of just want to just like hop right into it. On the 13th of January, so not even a full, we're like a week and like a couple days
Mhm.
from that original release, you released your self-titled LP. I mean, 11 songs that are just pure gold to listen to. Like the entire record is amazing. But like I said, it's been a little over a week. What's the response been on this so far?
It's been really cool, and thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's been really nice. I've heard from people that I haven't spoken to in a long time. That's been like a really lovely surprise, and it's been cool to like connect with them. And it has been very nice to see people connecting with the record as a whole, as opposed to here's
There he
Hayden.
is.
Yeah, it's been nice to see people connect with the record as a whole, versus just like one song here and there. And because in the past, like it sort of seemed as though like one song will get traction and the rest may be like ignored or something like that, but and not to like a crazy degree, but like it's been very cool to see yeah, like it just getting a little bit of love and all the work we put into it. It's
Yeah, like we made a post today about what's been your favorite song, and people have been chiming in with like naming off almost every single song on the record. It's
yeah,
been really cool to
different
see.
ones and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. People are like picking and choosing different songs that they like resonate with more, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I also found that very difficult for me personally to come up with like one that was super my favorite. Because like I mentioned, I found this record from it was would have been right around the time that you released a single for "What Keeps You Here," and it was on like my curated like check out like this is the new music coming out this week. So I found that one, and that's what kind of got me sent out to you guys. But then listening to this record like over the weekend and getting ready for this, it kind of switched up to, um, I just had it here, and I feel so bad. For favorite weapon, not favorite weapon,
Favorite
Favorite
memory.
memory. Yeah.
favorite memory. Sorry.
Those are
Yeah. But it like it keeps bouncing between the two, and then landscape is starting to like make its way up.
nice.
So I mean, like overall, like I found a lot of great songs in this record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I did have like a couple like notes here about a few of the different songs, um, and like it can kind of like lead into how you want to like talk about the record here. Um, Starting with like what keeps you here, the use of horns throughout that, like it's subtle enough where I felt like it just added so much more to that moment. With as you know, you don't realize that they're coming in at first.
Hmm.
Um, like, what was the idea behind using horns on some of these songs?
Well, I think that's the only song in the record where there are horns. But we had talked about wanting some sort of like brass presence, and my brother-in-law Nathan Dial, shout out Nathan. He is an excellent French horn player, among other things. And yeah, I was going to visit family one weekend, and I just brought a microphone, and we like set up in my parents' living room, and they were all like sitting around like watching us like record and stuff. And I had to like tell them like, shh, quiet, like I'm recording right now. Like they like they kept on talking in the middle of takes and stuff, which was really funny. But yeah, he did a great job, and I really think that the French horn like brought that song to life in a cool way.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I thought it was a great idea. I always love when, you know, bands that you wouldn't normally typically hear like horns in are able to incorporate those in and like pull them off. Like obviously we know like a lot of emo and like pop punk bands will do that, but with your style and like the ambientness, it works so well that it took that song I felt like to just that much higher.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, we with the instrumentation on a lot of these songs, you know, because we started writing this and like recording it like a while back. And like obviously, you know, like there were not shows going on at the time, so I think playing and performing like the songs live and recreating them on like a stage at the time wasn't really at the forefront. We were just trying to make a like a cool sounding record, and so we weren't thinking of like, all right, who's gonna play French horn and like who's gonna play pedal steel and who's gonna do all this stuff. It's just like, let's just make a cool album. So
Yeah, I think we were getting really into the idea of just kind of experimenting with different instruments and
mhm.
seeing what fit where, just to, you know, like we spent a long time on this album just kind of like picking and choosing parts and like coming up with new things just to try it out, and a lot of it stuck, a lot of it didn't.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you wanted to add, like as a certain like extra element that just wasn't able to work out that you really wish did?
I'm thinking about the eggs thing.
The what?
So I put Matt's vocal in favorite memory. I put Matt's vocal into like a reverse delay kind of thing, to like experiment with like bringing it back into the verse after the first chorus, and Matt hated it.
Well, it's because like the way that it caught the word or what, I don't even know what word I was like singing, but
Exist,
it's
but it only grabs the eggs
so
of
it
the
sounded like I was
exist.
saying eggs, 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 like leading up into like a chorus or a verse or something.
But it is still in there, just really quiet
Oh,
because
good.
Matt didn't. But I wanted to keep it.
I thought I vetoed it, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Speaking of something else that's in a song that's like also very quiet, to change off of that, in Note to Former Self, I think it's like right after the first part of the song, like it kind of like the volume changes so you can kind of hear like some talking in the background.
Hmm.
Uh, was there any like special meaning behind that and putting it in?
So when we were originally recording drums with Tate Mercer, shout out.
Shout out Tate.
Um, I think one day that we were in the studio, it started raining outside, and the studio is in kind of like an older building, so the rain was kind of like seeping into the drum recordings anyway.
Yeah, it's like an old house.
At 4115 here in
Shout
Nashville.
out. Cool.
And I think we decided to just kind of set up the drum room microphone and leave the front door open and just capture some of that rain.
You can hear it in landscape as
Yeah,
well.
landscape as well.
I'm pretty sure at one point at the beginning of landscape, there's like you can totally hear like a badass Harley and like from the street.
Yep,
so tight.
and the people talking, like I think we were just taking a break in between takes and like getting some of that rain, and hanging out on the front porch.
Yeah, we were sort of just like rolling tape and running with it, just sort of forgetting about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always interested with obviously sound clips and things like that. And so anything that like kind of, enhances the song or takes it to like a different shifts like your perspective of it. I think it's always like a cool thing to put in there.
Yeah, it's like a sort of like a reminder of like space within a song, like not just like like reverb or like cavernous delays, but like a physical space or like a location. It's kind of cool to like add in.
Yeah, like one that always really does it for me is Free Throws. I think like second EP. They in the original like recordings they had like uh excerpts from like this one TV show where like the guy just got broken up with like throughout the entire EP.
I think I know what you're
And
talking
like
about.
yeah, so like the songs alone will take you to like a certain spot, but like bring it like I feel like having those in there, at least the talking moments like that, just make it feel more real. Like oh no, like this shit is like in this space.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Also, Free Throw rocks. They're cool.
Yeah. One with this record too. One kind of cool thing was you guys dropped it on Friday the 13th. Was there any hesitation for like superstitions to not do that?
So we were deciding because we knew we were going to drop it like at the beginning of the year, and there was like looking at a couple Fridays, and it was like either Friday the 13th or like January 6th. So we were like, let's do Friday the 13th, I guess. But yeah,
definitely better choice.
We just thought it was kind of weird or cool, so no.
Yeah, I think it also just kind of like lined up that way. Like we were kind of pushing towards the end of making the record, like we wanted to have some time in between finishing it to like releasing it to get ourselves situated and whatnot. And yeah, like it just kind of lined up that like either January 6th or the 13th were kind of like the move.
Yeah,
and Friday the 13th is it doesn't come around often.
It won.
That's true.
Yeah.
Kind of jumping back not even to like a different point in our conversation, but like a few years. So, reading up, doing my research to sit down and make sure I'm like prepared with everything. You guys were mainly just like a live style band back in, pre-pandemic. And I know it's been a while, but like, what was that mentality of having to like completely shift or like come up with this idea to be more of like, let's like not just be a live band and take it to this next step?
It was cool. There was definitely like some resistance on my part. Obviously, I mean, it was out of our control. You can't really play during COVID or whatever, but yeah, I was sort of joking. We sort of turned the band into like an arts and crafts project, like there was one day we were like trying to like make like album art or sort of like a visual like video for one of the songs that we put out during COVID, and we were like in my backyard with a projector and like oils and like food coloring and like making like weird like just visuals to go. It was essentially like a music video that was just like one scene. But yeah, no, it's been cool. I really focusing on like the production has been a nice thing, and it's doing a lot of that ourselves. And Julian can speak more about that than I can at this point. But that's been something that I know that we have wanted to do for a while and haven't really until I guess the past few years had the resources to handle like entirely in house.
Mm-hmm.
And doing so has been like a really cool and like fulfilling part of the creation of like what we do.
Yeah, like so Matt and I are both audio engineers in trade. That's like what we both do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And like pre-pandemic too, like that, like as we were kind of tapering off of touring and playing shows a lot, I think that's about when like most of the band members kind of got settled into their careers.
Yeah.
To where it, made touring like not quite as viable, and then we were like, totally put in a corner with COVID.
We're not just like college kids like wasting their spring break going on tour and playing
Right.
like, you know.
So that was kind of a factor in it as well.
Yeah.
But with us both kind of doing audio engineering as our line of work, like we really wanted to put our efforts into, like, rather than just handing our record off to somebody, just to like do it all in house and have fun with it.
Yeah. It's cool too. Working in audio is sort of allowed us to like create a situation where like we can maintain like the primary focus on like music at like the forefront of our like lives pretty much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And having Pale Lungs be like a big part of that has been cool.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome that you guys also, like not only is it the self-titled, but it's the self-made basically.
Mm-hmm.
That puts a whole nother like kind of element on it. Like one to for like I was thinking about this the other day about how when does a band know when it's time to make something and put it as like the self-titled,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that adds so much more pressure. Like we're Pale Lungs and this is us, and you have to like hit that mark. Was there like was it daunting at all to like find to be like this is the one that it's gonna be, or did you know right off the bat like this is us?
I can sort of remember the moment that I was thinking to myself, I was like, we should sort of self-title this. So during production, like we mentioned, we started at 4115 with Tate Mercer, just like engineering like drum recording sessions. And then from there, we took everything to Kingston Springs in Tennessee, like right outside of Nashville. We like rented a cabin and packed up all of our like gear and stayed out there for like a while and did the bulk of the recording. And I think it was one night, I don't even know if I like expressed that to anybody, but I remember uh Julian was like tracking keys on the out section of a song that actually didn't even make the record. But it was like one of my favorite moments of like the record. It's just this cool instrumental spot that just built up and built up. And I remember thinking, I was like, damn, like I feel as though like I'm watching this band like reach a new potential that it hadn't in the past. And I was like, it just would seem appropriate after like the amount of work and the amount of time that, we had just like had our heads down, like saying no to shows and like saying no to stuff that we wanted to do because we were just working like on the record for so long. It just felt like an appropriate time to do that, you know?
Yeah, and we've always been kind of like dialing in our sound with everything that we've done. Like, our first EP was where we were at the time,
Mm-hmm.
like second EP, like wanted to up the production, but still stay true to the original like material that we were doing. And then as we've kind of progressed into this new version of us, um, like focusing more on production, we kind of, I think we've settled in on what we wanted our sound to be.
Yeah.
Um,
At least
and
like a new sound, you know. I think that like, or I've maybe this is just like my perception of it, but I feel like bands sometimes when self-titling something that like marks the like a turning point or like a change in
Mhm.
like the band's career, and I feel like like this record totally did, you know,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
mark a change.
Well, I love the change because there's a lot of. I mean, with this record, it's not just like, yeah, it's 11 songs, but it feels like there's so much more going on per song just because of the technique and like level that you guys are doing it at. Um, like you get drawn in at the beginning with that nice little intro, and then it just the whole record just takes you for this amazing ride that you can basically, or at least when I first listened to it, I was like, this is an album that I want to just like smoke a little weed and just lay back and just let it come in because there's so much going on. And it was, I mean, you guys are just killing it on this. That's basically
Thank
what I'm getting at.
you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, we definitely wanted to focus a lot on like adding like, I guess for lack of a better word, like Easter egg elements,
Mm-hmm.
and like different just little touches that made it something to really dive into, you know like something to sit back and just like let it you know let it ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of it, like you said, it's 11 songs, but in a way it like sort of feels like more than that somehow.
Yep.
I think it's because like a lot of the songs like don't start and end in the same place. Like
Mm.
a lot of the songs will start out a certain way, and maybe to their detriment, because I know it's not like canon in songwriting, but like we'll end up at like a totally like different spot, like left field. We like have always been kind of bad about like straying from like song structure norms and stuff, and not even like intentionally so. I think we just do it.
Yeah, I think that's our normal songwriting style. um but we also like we do try to like at least have a few songs that are like standard.
For as much as we try to write like a standard structured song, we like rarely do.
Yeah, it doesn't like it usually doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
Um, I had something. Oh, so as we kind of mentioned earlier, you do have a member flying in, and like I can't be there to experience what this album would be like in a live setting. But this Friday, obviously, it's going to be a little bit um, prior to like this episode coming out. But this Friday, you have the album release show,
Mhm.
and it's a hometown, obviously hometown show there in Nashville. Um, like, what can people expect with a live version of this iteration of Pale Lungs?
We're gonna try hard.
Yeah, I mean we've been putting almost as much work into this live show as we have the record itself, just to try to make it a new, like, again, a turning point um in our style,
Yeah.
um with like added production, um like fine tuning kind of what we're all doing at each moment.
Yeah.
um
Also, like I mentioned earlier, like these songs were written in a room together, but like constructed and like put together as a whole, like in a studio environment. And so some of the like transitioning some of the songs from like studio to stage, if you will, uh, was like sometimes like this is like the first time we are playing this as a band, like together all at once, and not like recording our own parts and like experimenting, like, so that's been like a new challenge, but it's been cool.
Yeah, and trying to keep it true to the record too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this is the first time we've ever played with tracks or anything like that, and I think that's gonna, add another element to like what we're doing live, like in bringing the record in front of people. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we're very excited about it.
Well, that's awesome. To anyone that was able to go to that show, I'm very jealous of you, because I can't wait to see this hopefully live at some point. Do you guys plan to take a tour at all to kind of back this?
That's something we definitely really love to do, and is something we're trying to like sort of figure out the logistics of, because we mentioned earlier our drummer is flying in for this show. He lives in Portland. We started the record and he was living in Nashville, and at some point, like when was it?
Last year.
Was it last year? He
He's
moved
been there for
out.
about a year.
Yeah, and he's living out there now. So he's flying in for this show because it's like a special occasion, of course. But um, Portland's very far away from Nashville, so there's a few logistic things to like figure out before we like start booking a tour. But that's something that we're trying to do. Yeah.
There's a few different bands, like at least in my neck of the woods, that I can already see you fitting along.
Where
with
is your
perfectly.
neck of the woods, by the way?
So I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But I mean, this would be a sick live show. So I'm very jealous of everyone that gets to go to this. Hopefully, it goes off well.
Thanks. I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good lineup too. I think I saw It's Better Off, and who was the other band I missed?
The Sewing Club.
The Sewing Club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another up and coming Nashville.
Yeah. Nashville folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So with obviously like we've been talking about this record, and I highly suggest everyone checking it out. But is there anything that I might have missed that you want the people to know about with this record?
I've been trying to let the record speak for itself a little bit, you know. I feel like I have a tendency to like talk a lot about something that I care about, and I do very much care about this album, but I think all the communicating that needs to be done is like in it, you know. Uh so I think yeah, just if you happen upon it, you know, sit down with it, uh take a minute, enjoy it. I hope you like it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, there was a lot of time and effort that was put into this record and making it, and like just I want it to speak for itself,
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It truly is like the largest like body of work that I've ever had like a hand in, you know. Like some of the songs date back to like, I don't know, 5 years ago, even more than that maybe. Like bones of songs that I've been like noodling on forever. And having them all in like one thing feels cool. Feels very cool.
Well, like I already said, everyone go listen to the new Pale Lungs record. We'll talk about links here in a little bit as to where you can go find that. But as we kind of transition here, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You know, it is Monday, but what are y'all drinking on this fine Monday?
Got some Polar Seltzer, orange vanilla flavored.
Ooh,
The
I've
the
never heard of that.
superior flavored seltzer, if you ask me.
Yeah, any of their seltzers, I would kill for a Polar sponsorship, to be
That'd be
real.
tight. Yeah.
And then I'm me being the type of person that needs more than one beverage. I got a Brew Doctor Love kombucha.
Okay.
Which is a lavender chamomile kombucha.
Julian, the type
Pretty
of guy to
sweet.
have 2 beverages.
I've got to have at least 2.
Yeah.
Are they always two things that are so far different from each other?
I mean, yeah, the further the better. I feel like
Yeah.
you have your options laid out.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Uh,
What you got?
Yeah, what are you drinking on?
I stick it to the classic. A nice good old Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Sweet.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tall boy. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I was mentioning, Polar. I've never heard of that. Is like, do you got to find it?
Is that a regional thing? I don't even know.
I don't think it's regional. No, I don't think. I think it's pretty much everywhere in the U.S. at least.
Yeah.
I grew up with Polar Black Cherry. That was like,
Okay.
See, I've only just recently started drinking Polar Seltzer, so
yeah, we have it here at Kroger. I think is it Hy-Vee up there?
Oh, yep. Ivy's.
Yeah.
mhm.
Like I don't know. I think just from my childhood, I always like saw Polar, and I started drinking it again like probably a couple years ago. And it rocks.
Yeah, it's the best. Good beverage.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I'll have to look for some the next time I go to the store
Definitely do it.
and let you know. So
Hit
that's
us up
our
when you find
little.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us
Sorry,
know.
what?
Let us know
So-
your thoughts whenever.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do a mini review and I'll send it your way.
Send it our way.
Oh yeah.
So that's our little drink and beverage segment. But as we kind of transition to the later half of these episodes, this is the part of the episode that is always my favorite. It's also the reason that these podcasts even exist. Basically, me and my friends would tell each other, stories from our time touring. But the thing is, we were in the same van, so you're hearing the stories that you were already a part of. So
Right.
this is where I come on and let's do some fun stories from your time of music. As I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous, or any adjective in between. It's usually like your go-to tour show, time recording style stories.
I've got
Sure.
one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is it what I think it is?
probably. I don't know. It might not be what you think it is,
Mhm.
but one time we were, I think it was an earlier tour of ours. We had this like 88 Ford club wagon that we had a wooden bunk built in the back of it. And it was right at like window height. So it was kind of tall enough for us to like slide our like gear underneath it. And we put like a little mattress pad on top of it to sort of try and get a little bit of rest while somebody else was taking a driving shift. And
Barely enough room to.
yeah, it was,
to
it
lay
was
down.
like very claustrophobic.
You were up against the ceiling. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
And so we were pulling into New York, I think. And Hayden's driving. He just walked into the other room. I'm trying to sleep in the back, and I like hear like faintly from the front of the van, like, hold on, and he hits a giant pothole, and I just like against the ceiling go gung, and so that was how I woke up and was welcomed into New York that day.
Yeah. That's I
Yeah.
I remember my fair share of hitting the roof of that van. That makes me think of like, I mean, 2 other stories. All of these stories revolve around New York and how
Somehow, yeah,
like
chaotic.
difficult and chaotic New York can be.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm gonna tell this one, and then do you want to tell the grand finale
Sure,
story?
go ahead.
Okay.
I'm just gonna assume what you're talking about.
I mean, so I think it was also that first tour we got to New York. It's our first time being in New York as a band, and we were like, man, like we have some time to kill before the show. Our show is out, like it's out in Long Island, Amityville, and we were like, well, let's like park the van and walk over to Times Square and like, you know, check it out. Um, so the only place we were able to find to park the van, with it being such a large vehicle, was in Brooklyn. And if you know anything about New York, Brooklyn is not necessarily close.
It's not walking distance. I mean,
Yeah,
it was that day.
we made it walking distance. I think it took us about what 4 hours to walk from where we parked the van to Times Square, only to find out that we could have just taken the subway.
Why did we want to go to Times Square anyway? It's like
grab a dollar slice and get a picture with the naked cowboy.
Yeah, weird idea.
But it was in the middle of summer, grueling heat, and it was just such a miserable day. And then like, you know, once we got to Times Square, we were like, all right, well, we're almost out of time before we have to go to the show. Like, oh my God, we have to play a show now. We've been walking all day.
Yeah, I was so sorry. Dumb idea.
So yeah, not if you're going to New York, best like go sightseeing, but probably not to that extent.
Yeah, there's no reason to walk like 10 miles before you play a show in like the summer heat. But yeah, there's that. And I am only assuming that I know the story that you're leading up to. It was a separate time in New York, but I think it was a separate tour.
That was with Runaway Brother. Shout out.
We were out with Runaway Brother, our good friends, who I think were also putting music out. They just put out a song.
They just put out a new song. Go check it out.
Yeah, check
it's
that
awesome.
out. And I don't remember the name of the venue, but we pulled up early because we heard that there was going to be like a stand-up, like a open mic stand-up thing that was taking place like in the time slot before our show was taking place. And so we showed up early, sitting in the back of the room, not trying to like interrupt or disturb. We just wanted to like kind of hang out and watch. And there's like an MC like who is sort of announcing all the different comics, and like a lot of them were like great. It was really cool. And this MC like walks around to everyone in the audience and then all the way back to us, and they hand us like pens, paper, and are like, all right, this is just hold on to this for now. This is for like a bit that's coming up. Just like chill. And so a few comics do their thing. And so this person walks up on stage, and I forget exactly the lead up that they gave. I think it was something along the lines of like, you know, I'm putting myself through college right now. I got a new job posing nude for art classes. And so I'm a little nervous. So I decided tonight I'm going to like practice on y'all. And so this person takes off all of their clothes on stage, is completely naked, and is like, okay. So I handed out pen and paper to everybody, looking at you, band boys in the back, and like calls us out totally. And so I was like, okay, we got to participate. This is all right, cool. And so we all draw this person, and like we have to draw this person, and they're totally naked, and so we're done drawing. Everyone did their little stick figures and stuff as uncomfortably as they could. And so they're like, okay, cool, now bring up your drawings to me. And so me and a member of Runaway Brother walk to the front of the stage and like, here you go. Like, and they're like, no, walk around, come up on stage with me. And I was like, oh, great, awesome. And this person like takes turns like showing off like the drawings to the audience. And so I think Julian
like
was
making fun of them. I was out on the phone outside.
Julian
And
was on
I'm
the phone the entire time this is happening, and he walks in and he sees me and Tavish on stage with a completely naked person, and that was his
I'm
introduction to the
yeah,
situation.
I walked in and I have never felt more confusion in my life. Just seeing them on stage, and I think at that point, like she was already making, or they were already making fun of your drawings,
Yeah, rightfully
and
so. They were really bad.
yeah, um, and yeah, it's just like, I, it's so bizarre to me that
Yeah,
that
it was super funny, and I like was definitely caught off guard, but you know, I was like, you know, maybe this person is gonna like come up to us after the show and be like, "Hey, thanks for being good sports. I know that was kind of weird, you know." And we're standing around, and I just see them like close out their bar tab and be like, "Sayonara," and they just left without saying a word. And I was like, "That's crazy.
yeah,
That's fucking
it's
crazy."
just
And then we played a show, and yeah, the show was funny too.
yeah,
Yeah, but it was cool. It was a good time. It's always fun.
I don't. I think it's like any story that I've heard, like at like from a club doing like that anyone's told on this. I don't think anything's beaten that or will beat that for a while.
it's
Yeah, well, it was memorable.
oh yeah,
I'll
big time.
remember that.
Speaking of like other memorable things, like what for like both of you would be like your favorite moment that you always think of with Pale Lungs?
Mm.
Hmm.
I have one that comes to mind. It was, I think it was one of the like later tours that we did, like closer up against COVID. It was really cold. We were in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and it was like, I don't know, there was like nothing like super different or notable. I mean, like it was snowing like crazy.
Yeah, it was
And it
like
was really,
minus
really,
20
yeah, it
something.
was ridiculous. We should not have been out there, in the van.
Mm.
But the space was really cool. It was like an art space, and the people that ran it were like incredibly nice. And yeah, it was just like I just remember that being a really special show because we played, and I just like remembered the songs like really, like, you know, like you can tell when somebody's listening, you know. And so often you can like, especially in like the repetitive you know, nature that is touring, like get up, drive, play, break down, drive, play, break down. uh you can really easily turn like the songs that you wrote into sort of like a
Just
routine.
autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah, it can,
Mm.
you can turn it into like a dance that you recite rather than like a communicative practice. And that night I just remember being like, wow, I like can feel this like connecting. You know, I can like feel people listening and like understanding. And I don't know, it was really cool. People were like super kind to us that night. It was a small show. It was probably like 40 people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember like that one feeling real special. It was cool.
Yeah. That was a really cool show. I think that was like one of the first times too that like anyone's ever like come up to us and been like, "Hey, I found your music like through Spotify," and like we I think they said they drove like,
Like an hour and a half or something to come
yeah,
see us.
like a good drive just to like come to this tiny show, which that's a really special
Yeah, it was
feeling.
awesome. And I like, people are always like worried because people talk so much about like being like punishers or whatever. People are always so worried about like
Mhm.
punishing bands. And so if somebody ever comes up to me and is like, I like your band, or like I traveled to see your band, they do not have to worry about punishing, because I am going to punish the ever living shit out of them, being like, that's cool, like, and I want to talk about it for hours, and they're like, okay, bye. Like, I don't care that much. But yeah, I just remember being like, wow, neat, and like trying to talk to this person for like longer than they were trying to. It was sweet. Then after the show, there was like some sort of like you couldn't buy like beer after a certain hour. And so we dropped off Hayden and Julian at the hotel, and me and Aaron drove like across county lines to pick up like a case of like hams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good memory.
Yeah,
Fun show.
that tour I remember just in general being really special.
Yeah.
And that night specifically too.
Was that also with Runaway Brother?
Um,
Or was that with
I think that might have been with Whale
Whalebones? Nice.
Also
Another good
shout out.
band. Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I think for me it was being in the cabin like with this record
Yeah.
and like hearing the songs like as they were being fleshed out in this like new environment for us.
Yeah.
It was a pretty like serene time.
It was it was really beautiful to get to like live in it, for a little while. Take some like actual time away from your life and like dedicate it entirely to trying to like make this thing and getting to go a little bit stir crazy. And like I think the only time I think I got to stay there the whole time. Not everybody could, but the only time I left was to like I think halfway through we like got like Mexican food or something.
Yeah.
And it was like in like a 25-minute drive to like the town over.
Yeah,
just to like
the closest
like place to eat. And yeah, it was nice being like that separated. It was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I really seeing the stuff come to life like in that room that we like sort of like arranged was very cool.
Yeah, it was really fun and yeah, like that was where we we got down the parts that we knew we wanted, but we also like after hours, after around like 10 p.m. when because we weren't like super far away from neighbors, we didn't want to make too much noise. So like later on in the evenings, we got to relax and hang out and just kind of experiment a little bit, and those times were really fun.
Party time.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. We like invited Tate over, who engineered the drums. Him and Aaron and like everyone in the band were just like hanging out. There was a bonfire going, and like Julian and I and whoever else were like inside, like going mad scientist mode on the synthesizer. Just
or like the theremins that are spread out around the album. It was fun. It was a really nice time.
It was.
No, that's awesome that you were, able to get away, get secluded as you needed to be, to find and like do this record the proper way and the way you guys wanted to. Before we kind of get to the end of this, obviously we're, just about the end of January in 2023. You guys just released this record, but what can we expect from Pale Lungs in 2023 or the future?
We're gonna be playing some shows.
Hopefully touring.
Some. I think I don't want to like speak too soon, but I think we're gonna look at vinyl for the record. That's something we're figuring out as well. More music. I already started writing the next one.
Yeah.
It's like you can't. I don't know. I don't know if other people feel this way or if you even feel this way, but like there's so much like that you're still holding on to before you like put the album out into the world. And so it's like I couldn't even like think about writing another song for Pale Lungs, like, and then I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it again. And then like the day it came out, I was like, y'all want to hear a riff I just came out? It's like been sending shit to the band chat and stuff. So it feels really good to like get it out, and it's like how I've been saying, it's like not my problem anymore, you know.
Yeah,
So it's somebody else's.
as long and difficult as the process was, like just the second it comes out, you're like, I want to do more.
Let's do that
like,
again
now.
And I shout out to Julian. Julian mixed the entire thing and spent painstaking hours doing it and just fucking crushed it. Just did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mixing, production, it was like really fun. It was like the first, thing I've ever mixed front to back like that. And it was really fun.
Mhm.
Like, it was fun getting to like fully visualize like what it was going to be and like see that through.
There's a lot of stuff fit into it too, and it's that wasn't sure it wasn't easy to mix. Yeah, if you're in a band or if you're a writer or an artist of any kind and you need somebody to mix your stuff and you like the way our stuff sounded, you should definitely consider hitting up Julian. He is very talented.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to
Definitely
mix
do
your
it.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you did amazing with this. Like, it's been a joy to listen to, and one that I'm very excited to see what happens next with y'all. Whether it's EP3, LP2, LP4, 5, whatever. I'm gonna be stoked to check it out.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
If anyone's looking for merch, music, or just Pale Lungs in general, where can they find it?
PaleLungs.com.
Mhm.
We got one of those now. I think there's also a link to like merch and shows and stuff on Spotify, but yep. Pale Lungs. You
Yeah,
can pretty much find it.
Spotify. I think like Instagram and Facebook are all Pale Lungs
Twitter.
Band.
Yeah. Yeah, at Pale Lungs Band is all the socials and whatever. But yep, that's how you
Well,
find it.
depending where you depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram, make sure you check the description. I'll have all those hyperlinks. Go follow Pale Lungs and stay up to date with everything that else they have coming out. Hopefully the show goes off without a hitch. I'm sure it's gonna be fucking crazy. Hopefully, you make it out to the Twin Cities and I get to see this at some point, or maybe I'll have to make a trip down to Nashville to check it out. Never know.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Um, one last big thank you to the two of you for taking the time out of your Monday to sit down with me. Love everything you guys got going on. Everyone go check out Pale Lungs. And other than that, I'll catch everyone on the next episode.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.